Subscribe to my YouTube channel and click the bell icon for the latest film interviews, features, and recommendations on the movies that matter. Rishi, congratulations are in order, of course. Delhi Crime has been nominated in the Best Drama Series category at the International Emmys. And this is alongside a German show, a British show, and an Argentinian show. Congratulations, first of all.
Thank you very much.
Rishi, it's been a year and a half since the show dropped on Netflix. It's a very popular show, but you have, of course, moved on to other things. Rishi, how attached do you still feel to the show? And therefore, how invested do you feel in these honors and these accolades when they come?
That's a very good question, I must say. It's a very complicated relationship, and it's a complicated answer because, as you said, it has been a year and a half. So in a way, I try to move on because the only thing I can do is create the show, get it out there, do the best I can to get it out. When we last met, for example, part of that, and then let it find its way and find its life. Generally, since then, I don't talk about it. I don't present it to anyone or represent it to anybody. If they find their way to it, great. If somebody asks me a question, I'll answer. But the whole point of making something like this in my mind is so you don't have to talk about it. And I'm not, this is not a contemptuous as to our interview now. But that's the point of making it. Otherwise, I would do spoken word or a theatrical show on stage and talk about it all the time. And then when these things come, there's a total separation. You're right. Of like, oh, okay, well, that's not me. That's the thing that's being. And that thing is it's work from everybody, right? It's a compilation of work from hundreds of people. So I just look at it as, oh my God, I was a part of something that's connecting, which is nice.
You know, it was, of course, Delhi Crime was inspired by the Nirbhaya case of 2012. You, of course, famously spent over 5 years researching it and really hammering out a script. And that showed, because this was a show that has been praised for its depth and for its perspective and its nuance. But now that you have some distance from it, Rishi, how do you think that making this show changed you? Perhaps as a storyteller, perhaps as a person. You've said that when you actually first looked at the investigation papers, the case, you didn't have in mind the idea that you'd do something with it, that you'd make a show or make a film out of it. You've said that you read it so it would help you understand the events of the case. You've even said that when you did decide to make the show, at every step of the way, you found yourself asking yourself whether it was worth it and whether it was the right thing to do. How did it change you?
Again, it's a very good question. At this stage, I look back on it and I haven't watched it since it came, and certainly I never had a chance ever to watch it in one sitting. And I know some people have. Many people have watched it either in one sitting or two sittings. You can't do that. When you're quality checking a sound mix or color correction, you can't watch 8 hours in a row. You have to watch 1 hour and then tweak things, and that's what I was doing at the time. So I never had a chance to watch it all the way through. And that way, I look back on it and I know going forward, the type of work I want to do is in that space, and not in the space of looking at a heinous crime and then using that as the basis for talking about society. What it is I want to continue working in the space of looking at real incidents, looking at, is there value to telling the story from a perspective we haven't considered? Is that something we can learn from? Is it relevant? And is it important right now? And I know this sounds, it sounds like I'm playing up the value of film, but I really believe fundamentally it can affect individuals in a very profound way. And so with that in mind, this has just reinforced my desire to not do so much work in my life in terms of output. I don't want to do 100 movies, one movie a year or one series a year. I'd rather do much less and spend the years it takes to get that right and have the satisfaction of knowing that it's the best version possible of what I set out to do, and it has value to me.
You know, it's interesting that you say that, because I was going to ask you that commitment that you put into this show, researching it for 5 years and taking that time to script it in the way that you wanted to, is that sustainable? That was going to be my question. And, because isn't it also true that you didn't do the second season of Delhi Crime because you felt like you were not going to have enough time to get into the research and the scripting as you would have liked. So is that the, have you answered my question already when you say that you want to reduce your work but be able to do it in the way that it needs to be done?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's funny because I have to qualify this thing. I still work for, 14 to 16 hours a day writing and researching. It's not reducing the workload, we're reducing the final output as a result. But really, I mean, there was multiple reasons I didn't carry on with season 2. And one of the biggest one was I had prior commitments on projects that I had to get back to, stuff I had started years ago that I wanted to execute. It is sustainable if one can maintain a modest kind of living arrangement. If you're not asking too much of the world, then you have more control of your time. I heard a very interesting anecdote a couple of years ago. Whether it's true or not, I like it, which was there's this competition between Bill Gates and Warren Buffett of who has the emptier Rolodex. And to me, it was kind of mind-boggling of, oh my God, these two are the richest people in the world.
Right.
And they're competing about who has more free time. That's the competition rather than who's busier. And my instinct is if you're busier, that means you're kind of moving and shaking and making things happen. To me, it's the contrary. If you can somehow build into your life less commitments, professional commitments, especially personal is what it's going to be, and then free up that space to work on the things you want to work on. I live a very simple life. I have my bicycle and I don't ask for much. And as a result, I can build in more time. I don't need much to write.
I want to go back to the show. Rishi, you, of course, took the crucial decision to never show the crime, to never actually film the crime. That scene later on in the show in which the medical officer tells Shefali's character what actually happened, that is more stomach churning than anything that one could actually commit to film. But was that a decision that you wrestled with, to not show and to leave to the imagination?
No, not even for a second. It was so, I was so adamant about this. That was the first decision I made when I decided to start writing it dramatically, was there's no version of this where we can show the crime, because we could never, first of all, we can never get away with it. It would be exploitation. If I saw that, I would say, how dare you show something like this? Secondly, the series in my mind was not about the crime. It was about the people who are trying to solve. In fact, the screen time is spent on the people trying to fix it, especially the women trying to fix the problem, because we all knew what the problem was. What we didn't know were necessarily the reasons it happened, nor did we know that there were people and women trying to solve it. So that to me was what the show was about. There have been obviously numerous films that have showed these types of crimes. Maybe nothing as heinous because nothing happened like this. And those entire films are about those incidents, just the one incident. So I feel like that territory had been covered in a certain way, never this heinous, which is why to me, the thing that separated this in terms of heinousness was what you just described. What the doctor says, the things that happened, the things that went beyond, they're monstrous. And as a result, it's the reason the show exists. Never did I grapple with it. There was no chance I could do it.
The one thing the one recurring thing that your critics have said about the show is that it is sympathetic to the Delhi police. That of course, you humanize them because we see through their lives and their private lives and their family lives what they're going through and what they're against. But the criticism was that it's very sympathetic. It's soft on them. Again, looking back, do you have is your response any different than it was a year and a half ago?
I can't remember what I said a year and a half ago, but I hope I'm consistent because I feel it deep down. I was never trying to speak for the Delhi police at large. All I could do was try and represent this group of officers for 1 week. And from the years of research I did into what happened that week with those particular officers, that's what I wanted to sympathize. I wanted to say, I can't speak to the big picture of policing in India or Delhi police or any of that stuff, but I can say that this case, as led by this woman, who I believe has a great deal of integrity as a human being, I believe they did the best a human being could do. That's what I wanted to say. And I stand by that. from my understanding of it.
Rishi, is there a part of a storyteller like yourself, and I don't know if uncomfortable is the right word, but this was an event, and these were incidents that rattled you, as you've said, and it rattled the country. And to tell this story, which then becomes entertainment. It becomes something that people binge watch. How does a storyteller sort of, kind of make peace with that? And you, of course, have said that one of the reasons that you decided after asking yourself, is it worth doing? Is it worth, is the answer was, if something positive comes out of it, we should do it. And that was the only reason to go ahead. How then do you kind of resign yourself to the fact that this is, true crime is entertainment at the end of the day, and it's being binge watched, it's going to 190 countries, it's being celebrated, there's an Emmy nomination. Does that make you a little bit uncomfortable, given where it came from, the place?
Yeah, I know. Again, I understand your question, and it is it's a very difficult. It's a difficult thing to wrap your head around, which is why. I mean, it's not something I necessarily celebrate. I don't celebrate the existence of the show. The existence of this show was in many ways me and then the team that surrounded me, trying to grapple with this in the same way you might try to grapple with it. If I say, Raji, you know what, come along with us. We're going to do this group therapy for the next 2 years together with our skill set and try and address this. And we're going to use all the tricks of entertainment to try and get other people to watch it, because I don't think on a Saturday night or a weekend people want to engage with this. But if we use the tricks of entertainment, of genre, of thriller, of pacing, of music, all these things, we might lure them into wanting to address this. That's how I approach it. And I think one of the reasons me and the team work so painstakingly on this show, I mean, the amount of effort, and everyone does this, for films to a certain extent, but certainly every comma on the subtitle and every zone of color and every note in the music, every single thing. And there was a point I know I passed where most people won't even care. They won't hear what we're doing. They won't see what we're doing. But I needed to take some solace after the fact in knowing that we did everything we possibly could to make people swallow this bitter pill. And it was also why the ending was the way it was. There was no happy ending to this. Even if you find these guys, fine, that now what are we talking about? So it's, and again, I can speak to this because as a viewer, I've experienced it. I've experienced luring myself through entertainment, and by the end of it saying, wait a sec, this is profound. And it may have actually impacted me in a way that is so intangible, I might take it with me now. So I know I know it can work.
Yeah.
That's what we try. That's the best we try. Otherwise, I could shout on a mountaintop what I feel about this, and no one's going to listen.
You said that one of the reasons you couldn't do season 2 was because of the other commitments. So what are you up to? I know that you divide your time between Delhi and London. Isn't it also true that you said no to remaking The Night Manager that's going to have Hrithik Roshan? What are you up to? You're saying no to so many things. What are you saying yes to?
I don't know where you hear these things. I am working on prior commitments, things I really believe in, things I committed to prior to Delhi Crime, and both literally and in my heart. And these are things as important to me as Delhi Crime. And I tell myself at each time I do a project, I say, this is the last project that I'm able to make, because it requires a certain amount of health and a certain amount of acuity and all these things. And who knows, especially in this day and age, that can just be taken. So if I say this is the last thing I do, I want to do this particular one. And secondly, if the industry decides next year, because the industry is very fickle, you know it better than anyone, it decides that it no longer likes me and I don't get the support to make it, if this is the last one I make, I'm going to do this one. And so I feel like I'm paying my debts. I have to finish a few things I started that I feel very strongly about. And then after that, I'll look to maybe wider horizons and see what's happening.
Well, cannot wait to see what you do next. Thank you for Delhi Crime. And I think what you said is completely true. It is really something that has a profound impact, and it sort of leaves you really looking at the world differently. So thank you. Congratulations on the Emmy nomination, and cannot wait to see what you do next. Thank you, Rishi.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.